Hi, friends, and welcome. I am your hot mess of a host, Mary Hendricks from The Very Merry Life, your new mom friend that soon will feel like an old friend. Twice a week, every week, I want you to come and join me as we cover moments in motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. Some moments worth savoring, others worth surviving, all with a laugh, pep talk, or F-bomb every now and again. I want you to come as you are, but leave the sugarcoating behind because, guys, we know how sweet it already is. So what do you say? Up for picking some daisies? And hello. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode. You're getting me solo today, obviously, if you can't tell. And we're just going to sit together. Just you and I. We're just going to sit, sat, and we're going to chit-chat. Sit, sat, and chit-chat. Okay, you ready? It is the day before I'm actually going to put this out because I am a major procrastinator, but also I just want to break up the podcast episodes that we have. I've been doing a lot of guest episodes, and I think it's time that I just chat with you and, you know, reintroduce myself to you guys and pull up some Q&As that I've had a few people submit in over on Instagram and just talk about a couple of things that are going on in my world. That way you can feel up to date. I always think it's nice to do that. Like sometimes I get stuck in my head of thinking, you know what, like who gives a shit? And you might not. That's totally cool. But at the same time, too, I think it's important for you guys to kind of get to know me a little bit more, hear about what's going on in my world. That way, when you hear me on episodes with guests talking about heavier subjects, lighter subjects, any type of subject, you know where I'm coming from, what approach I'm seeing or what approach I'm coming from, what lens I am seeing things with. So that's why I think that is important for you just to kind of get the behind the scenes, Mary, even though there really isn't a behind the scenes Mary. That was actually a question that came in on the Q&A is the you that you share on social media the real you, or is it kind of like a front? And I definitely think there is like, I think the moment you start recording, there's definitely a difference in me that has been trained over time. So if you haven't seen a video I put out a little while ago, when I first kicked off this whole social media thing, I was a nervous Nelly. I was so uncomfortable. I had no clue how to talk to anyone, how to do stories. I used to do stories all the time with like filters on my face. And I was so uncomfortable. I started things off just like so bland. I really didn't get into personals. I really showed just like one side of things instead of like all sides of things. And I definitely wasn't as open. And I think over time, I just have been able to get more and more open, more and more honest and raw. And honestly, I think it's a result of being constantly validated because everyone on social media, not everyone, asterisk, everyone, my people on social media have just been so supportive and kind that validation and that just, it's been a confidence booster for me, definitely in like expressing my confident or my creative side and things like that. I think that's just built up the confidence in me along with you all supporting me and applauding me along the way. I think that's been incredible. But also I think it's just been personal growth. You know, if I really think about when I started sharing on Instagram, I was 26 and now I'm 33 and you know, you may not think it's that much time, but I've definitely grown a lot in the past couple of years and I've gotten a little bit wiser. I'm still learning every single day, but I've gotten a little bit wiser, a little bit more, I don't give a fuck. I've run out of fucks to give. That's what's really happened as I've gotten older these past 7 years. I'm trying to do the math. I've just run out of extra fucks to hand out. I still have a couple of them because, you know, with every decade, I feel like more and more just slip through your fingertips. What word am I going for? They slip out of your fingertips. The fucks. But I still hold on to a couple of them because I'm still a sensitive little bitch. And I probably always will be. Okay. You always have to carry some sleight of fuck with you. But I now budget out the fucks that I give. I didn't do that in my 20s. I was just giving them out left and right. I was a sensitive little Sally. And I still am, but not as bad in my 30s and in my 40s. Beware. 50s, watch out. 60s, I'll probably just run you over with my car. 70s, if I get there. God help you. 80s, definitely going to run you over with my car, probably for a second time. And 90s, let's hope I'm not behind a car wheel. Oh, I don't know if I want to get that old. I'm going to go on a whole nother tangent if I start down that. But yeah, we'll talk about that one day. Anyway, that was a question that came in. Before I get into the other ones, I want to talk about kind of what's going on in my world. Obviously, like I said, you're listening to this in real time. It's 8:35 p.m. on October 30th. Obviously, happy Halloween. You're hearing this on Halloween or maybe after. And as of today, in 3 days, a little under 3 days, I will be getting my ass up at 2:30 in the morning to get into a car that's picking me up at 3:30 in the morning to get over to the airport, taking a plane to Los Angeles, meeting up with Katie from Mommy Needs More Wine. Obviously, she's my bi-monthly co-host. And then Kim Perry. We are all getting an Airbnb in LA so that way we can go to the Create Her Expo in Los Angeles, which is so much fun. Except I am so stressed for a handful of reasons. If you've been listening to the past couple of episodes, you know how I feel about flying. It's the worst thing on this planet. I feel oddly calm about that right now. That could be the fact that I have an edible in my system, but you know, we're just going to go with that. In all seriousness, though, I think it is a calmness because I don't have another choice. Like at this point, I am not giving myself any sort of bailout because I have to do this. If I don't get on this plane, I will let my fear win and I will never get on a plane. I won't get on the plane to go to London, which we're doing in a little over 2.5 weeks. Kevin and I alone. Like I won't. I just know myself, and that's not an option for me. I have family that lives far away. I have trips that I want to one day take my kids on. I want to go to this, and I want to be there, and I want to meet these ladies, and I want to go to London, and I want to have solo time with my husband, and I want to think of all the adventures that I will be able to take my kids on one day if I can just conquer this. And I don't know, maybe I'm nuts for doing this by myself, but part of me kind of is glad that I am because I almost need to get to like the base of this. I don't want to lean on someone else, if that makes sense. Like I think I would be a little bit more comforted if I were flying with Cassidy, or like I say Cassidy because Cassidy's older and I feel like she would have so much fun and excitement that it would distract me. Spencer and Haley are still young enough where they would probably just stress me out, but Cassidy's kind of out of that window. But if I were flying with her, I think it would be a good distraction, but it wouldn't be an honest distraction. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I would use it as a distraction. I don't want a distraction. I want to face this fear and uncomfortableness head on. It just really sucks. It really sucks. I'm really, really scared, like really scared. And I don't think many people understand the fear of flying. I actually recently did a Dial-A-Pilot session, and I talked about it on my Instagram stories. I'll share it in the show notes if you want to. If at all any of you are listening and have a fear of flying, I met with Dial-A-Pilot, so it's DIAL a pilot. You can go on their website. I'll link them. I'll also link my YouTube video, that way you can watch my phone call with them. But essentially you get on the phone and you talk to a pilot and you can ask them all of your crazy ass questions because they do not judge. Honestly, it's actually kind of nice for them, as what the pilot told me. He said it's kind of nice doing this because it gives me a little bit more purpose in what I'm doing, and realizing like not everyone gets on a plane comfortably. Like most people don't. Most people are not happy to be on a plane for a multitude of reasons, but there are a lot of people that are terrified of getting on a plane, and there isn't much reason for it. And as a pilot himself, he was like, I want to know what I can do to help my passengers feel good. Like it's not just a transactional thing, because I think that's a big portion too, is we kind of look at pilots, and I don't know about you, but I get on and I'm like, I don't really know who's driving me right now. And that's terrifying and awful, but yeah. So anyway, I did that. That was helpful. I learned a lot. Like I said, if you want to listen to that interview, I will link that in the show notes. But like I said, I'm trying to do everything I can. I have Xanax, so I plan on taking that. I'll probably take an edible before I go to bed that night. That way I can wake up and probably have it still in my system a little bit. I hope you guys don't judge because I don't give a shit. Yeah, we're going to be okay. I'm also feeling like, obviously on the other side of that worry, it is the fact that my kids are going to be here. Kevin's taking care of them. So that's not a big deal. Kev is great. He's just as capable as I am. It does freak me out. Like it's more just like, and I said this to Kevin, I've had this open conversation with him because it's not his everyday doing this. And that's by design. Like my husband works a lot, and I stay home. We again designed it like this, that has its upsides, obviously, but then has its downsides, pitfalls. And that is that it's not Kevin's norm. And he knows where things are, but he doesn't know everything. And I'm a default. Like I know when gym days are. So I know what days Cassidy has to wear sneakers, and I know what things she can and cannot wear to school. I know how to brush Spencer's hair because Kevin's not home for school time. Like Kev never witnesses me doing school drop off and getting the kids to, school or packing lunches. Like he doesn't see that. So it's like stuff like that where I'm like, okay, well, it's not your everyday. I just don't want him to get stressed. And I said this to him. I was like, I don't want you to get so overwhelmed and like have it be a bad experience where our kids know like, oh shit, when mommy goes out of town, we're stuck with dad. Like, I don't want that to be the case. Not that I am asking him to be a saint either. So keep that in mind because I have lost my ever-loving shit on my kids when Kev is not here. So it's not I can do this, but you can't do this. It's more just like, I want to know that this is going to get handled and that I'm not going to get a multitude of phone calls and things like that. And we had a conversation and I just had to say it. I was like, a lot of them might not even be valid, but I think that's the biggest part is like Kev has allowed me just to say what is in my chest and on my heart with anxiety because my just brain, the gears are going and one thing I can calm down, another will flare up. It's just, that's what anxiety is. It's a flare up of the most crazy, wild, intrusive thoughts. That's how it feels for me, at least. Like you can suppress one, but then another right on up and it peaks. And that's what it's doing to me right now. But the other side of me going to LA that is making me unsettled is I have like, I don't know what word I'm going for. I'm fearful that I'm going to feel guilty in some way. So it's like going up to it. Like even Spencer today was kind of like, he was just a little off. And I said to Kev, I was like, I hope he's not getting sick. And I think they're okay. But I hope for that. Like if I have to leave and my kids are not feeling good, I'm not going to do well. Like I know Kev can handle it, but I am not going to do well with that. At all. And there's like a guilt factor. And then Cassidy has her first loose tooth. So I'm like, last night I thought about this and I was like, what if her tooth falls out while I'm not home? And I was like, fuck. Because if her tooth falls out, then Kev has to handle the tooth fairy and that's fine. He can totally do that. I would just be upset that I would have missed it. And that's what's eating me. It hasn't even happened yet, but that's eating at me where I'm like, okay, well, did I mess up? Am I doing something wrong? Like this is technically a work trip. If you think about it, like I was invited to this expo. I'm going just because this is going to be a great like networking opportunity and brand building opportunity and just growth opportunity. It's all going to be good. But then I sometimes wonder and I'm like, oh, is this really what I wanted? Like I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I didn't want to work. Like that was a choice for me. That was an active choice. But then I wonder, like, did I just not want to work because I wasn't really loving what I was doing? I don't know. There's so many like conflicting thoughts in my head. And I'm sure like if you're a mom, I say working parent in air quotes because again, everyone gets mad about this, but like everyone works. We all know that. But I'm for the sake of the argument of what we know a working mom to be or working parent to be, it's typically a parent who is, yes, a full-time parent all the time, but also leaves the home or maybe doesn't and earns a portion of paycheck or puts in hours to another entity that is not her family. That's what I classify a working parent. So let's just go with that. But I'm sure that's a guilt that you guys are feeling. Like I've heard it before on my page where I talk about things like that of just being like, it sucks. You have to sacrifice certain things. And I think it's all worth it. I think there is zero ability to balance it all with motherhood, work, life responsibilities. It's impossible. And we keep always saying like, okay, the balance of motherhood. There is no balance of motherhood. There's zero balancing in motherhood. It's typically just a shot in the dark and see what sticks type of, thing that we're doing. But there's no balancing. There's no way to handle every single thing at once and do it right. There's no way. Something has to give. That is motherhood. It's not balance. It's something has to give. And that's going to change day to day, hour by hour, minute by minute, responsibility by responsibility. That's why I always say, like, you have to have your non-negotiables, and work is one of those. And then you pick and choose what kind of comes in there. And, but it still leaves you with a heck of a lot of guilt. And that's where I'm at right now, where I'm like, I just want this to be worth it. I want this to be worth it. That's even where I've been with like Instagram and stuff like that, is sometimes I get like, I'm working really hard at like, the podcast. I want this to be something, and I want my website, my blog to be something, and I want my newsletters. And I want the Very Merry Life to become like an enterprise. Like, I want it to be a brand. I want it to be something that people go and be like, hey, the Very Merry Life, this is who I turn to for.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Eye-Opening Moments podcasts are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
Easy meals. This is who I turn to for a good laugh, because she's going to, not sugarcoat shit. This is who I go to for encouragement on really hard days. This is who I go to just feel heard, because I'm in the same fucking situation and no one is kind of making me feel included. Like, that's what I want for this space. I just sometimes stop and I'm like, okay, is it worth it? Am I going to be proud of this? And I think so. But are my kids going to be proud of me for doing this? That's the question I get so nervous about. Ugh. Is that a thing? Is that a parenting thing? This is new for me. This is like my first work thing. So that's that. I'm going to look at Q&As. Let's go through some of those, because there are deeper topics in there that maybe I'll broach them lightly. I'm not going to go into like them in depth, because I do want to talk about these other subjects in like more broad detail in future podcasts, but let's just go through and we'll answer some of those. Okay, so let's start off with this one. Favorite thing about yourself, your kids, and Kevin. So my kids, Cassidy, she is got an imagination like you would never believe. She is creative. She is kind. She has such a good heart. She is such a patient, depending on the day and depending on if she's home, with others at school, in the playground. She will make a friend with anyone she meets, and she will be kind to them. I've never once witnessed anything other than kindness and respect coming out of Cassidy. And obviously I'm a mom and I could be totally biased, but I really am honest. Like, Cassidy will meet anyone, anywhere, and somehow create a friendship with them. And any child, doesn't matter what they look like, doesn't matter anything. She's met kids that have speech delays. She's met so many kids that are just different autistic children. We actually met autistic child playing at the play space in Chick-fil-A, and Cassidy was just like playing with them. And the mom came up and she's like, I just appreciate like them taking the time. And I was like, yeah, well, Cassidy has speech delay, so I'm like, we're kind of familiar with all this and we're good. But she's got such a kind heart, and I'm excited to see where that develops. Although she is sensitive. So that's like the other downside of that, is that she's got such a kind heart that she's very sensitive. And I sometimes worry that as she gets older, she will fall into that a little bit harder. I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay. And Spencer has a giggle like you wouldn't believe, and it is contagious. When that child thinks something is funny, it ordinarily is, but he is just so sweet. He's so sweet. He truly wants to see the best in every single person, and that is it. Like, he just automatically looks at people and gives them love. He's such a sweet boy. Like that's all we ever say. Like my friends and my family and I, we just describe him. We're like, Spencer's such a sweet boy. He is. He's got a mean streak to him that I get to see at home because when he wants his way, he wants it. But I also think that is going to get him very far in life. I just have to teach him not to be such a hothead because that's the part that scares me. He has a temper on him and Lord have mercy, but he's a smart little firecracker and he keeps me guessing. He's my child that's spicy and he keeps me on my feet and my toes, but he is just sweet and he will lay with me and he has his favorite movie, The Rescuers, that he loves. And we both watch it together and he'll sing the song in the beginning intro. And this is like an old 1970s movie. He will sing it. It's so sweet. Haley, she's a wild woman. She's got a spark to her and she is going to be a force. All of my kids are going to be forces, but Haley is going to be she's going to be wild. She's going to be wild. And either she will coast under the radar as she gets older and able to pull off her crazy ass antics, or she'll be the one like stressing us all out while the first and Spencer kind of like keep their shit together while the third is just like stressing Kev and I out. That will be Haley. But she is just fun. She's so fun. She's got a spark to her. I think I may have said that about all my kids because that's how I feel. But she's got a sense of humor, and she's going to be funny. And she loves my music. She loves to dance. So that's another one about Kev. With Kev, a few things come to mind. It's so hard. He's just good. He's a good guy. Like he doesn't ask questions. Like he kind of goes around. He trusts me. I think that's a big portion. But like, for example, so like I had two of my really good girlfriends. This is like 3 years ago. One of them was getting a puppy, and she was getting this puppy from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is about a 2.5-hour drive away. At the time, she didn't have a car or a license to be able to drive and go get this puppy, and it was the day after New Year's. So we stayed up, Kev and I stayed up late, did New Year's, went to bed with the assumption that I was going to be getting up at 4:35 to go pick up my friend who lives a half an hour away, so that way we could drive to Lancaster, get the dog, come back. And we knew it was just going to be an early morning. That was the only way she was getting there. Like I had to be there. And sure enough, I don't know what happened, but one of the kids was like throwing up or something like in the middle of the night on New Year's night, or New Year's Eve. Was it New Year's Eve? Yeah, it was on New Year's Eve. So like they are throwing up, and it's like now getting past the point of the time that it's getting close to when I have to go pick up my friend and leave. And Kev came in and I was just like, I don't know what to do. And he just got dressed. I didn't ask him. He just got dressed, put his shoes on, and he went and got my friend, and he drove her 2.5 hours away to get this dog. No questions asked. And I think his biggest thing is like, if it's important to me, it's important to him. And he makes sure I always know that. It's very nice. As for me, what's my favorite thing about me? I think I'm just down to earth. If I could talk about myself, I don't overthink things, and I just don't sweat the small stuff. I feel like that's a big motto in my life. Sometimes I do. Let's be honest. I'm not perfect, but I think I have the tendency to rationalize in a way that's with a perspective of this isn't permanent. Like, this doesn't really matter. Like, there are bigger things, more beautiful things out there. I think that's probably my favorite thing about myself is my attitude. But again, it's not perfect. Some days I'm just, I got that shit going on. All right, let's answer a few more. Again, this is going to be a long podcast if I keep on going. How's Spencer doing at school? He loves it. How to get a new mom, her cousin, to take the baby out of the house. She's 4 months old and she's never met anyone yet. She requires masks and has no other kids. And says no kids. Okay. That's hard. I would just keep offering that she can. That's a hard situation because you don't know what's going on there. It could just be true concern, but it could also be postpartum anxiety. It could be a slew of things. I would just make an effort to let it be known, like, hey, I would love for you to come over. Why don't you come over? I'll make sure that, what can we do to make you feel comfortable if you come on over? Like, I would ask her that do stuff like that, let's go through. What's my husband's occupation? He is a police officer, technically a police detective. And he also works part-time on a task force, government agency a few times a week. So that's all like law enforcement related. And then he's also one of the leading cyber experts in dark web investigations. So he travels a lot and teaches classes and courses. Can I repost the AG1 recipe that I made? Yeah, I talked about athletic greens. It's like a green drink. So good. Add a squeeze of lemon juice to it. Add a teaspoon of ginger, cinnamon, and turmeric. Yeah, to it. Shake it all up. It is so good. Trust me on that. It's so yummy. I'll put that code in the show notes. That way you guys, if you want to grab that, it's so good. Did I get my nails done? Yeah, I did. And I always want to, but I always feel guilty spending on myself. Don't. Why? It's your money too. I trust me, I'm not a big nail person though. So this is a special occasion. I just can't bring myself to go pay $100 for my nails when I would rather go spend it on Botox. So for me, it's just like, it's not a priority. Also, I'm always biting my nails and people have said to get them painted. So I avoid them. I'll still bite them. So I don't bother. I just do use it as every once in a while, but you figure out your priorities. What's going to make you feel good? And if it's something that you want and can fit into your budget, feel no guilt. It's no guilt. If it's a guilt factor because you're not, I don't know your situation, but if you're not earning the paycheck, fuck that. Okay. I've talked plenty about this. Solely earning the paycheck does not mean that you get no part in the finances of your household because you are an adequate, equal part of that equation. Your husband would not be able to do what he's doing at work if you are not home. Does that make sense? You wouldn't be able to have the lifestyle that you both agreed to if one of the teammates is not doing their role. Does that make sense? So you guys are in it together. You have to view it as a team mentality, a well-oiled machine. If one person isn't pulling their weight, whether they're at home or actually tangibly earning the paycheck, then the whole ship doesn't run well. And that's what you always want to focus on is the ship is running well and you are just as responsible for making that ship run well, even if you are not the one tangibly bringing that dinero home, Anyway, okay, you got your nose ring. How about tattoos? I want one so badly. I'll fear I regret it. I got one. I have one. I will never talk about it publicly on Instagram or social media, and I fear even putting this into a podcast, but so far it hasn't been talked about and no one's listened to it yet. I have one and I got it years and years and years ago and it's in the spot that no one will ever see. And I love it, but I also got it for me. And again, it's no one can see it. No one would ever know except now all of you. And yeah, I love it. If you message me on Instagram, maybe I'll show it to you, but maybe not. Are you done making the daily videos where you would wave in the mirror and then show your morning? I haven't done those in a long time. That was a long, long time ago. I really haven't done those in a while, but maybe I should do one tomorrow. Here's my thing with vlogs and things like that is I do them from time to time. I'm really struggling with having my kids in my content. And in 2024, I'm trying to figure out a way to lessen them. However, I don't want to completely remove them altogether. I do not mind personally if my kids are in the background of things. I do not mind if I take the occasional picture with my kids and post it up. I do not mind those things. Those things don't concern me. Even what I'm doing right now, honestly, hasn't been personally, in my opinion, bad. I don't make my kids, do things with content. I don't make them pose for a picture. I don't do the things that for a while, I don't like my page. It's not about them. I don't just post something simply of my kids. I will every once and again, if I'm on stories and they're being cute and saying something funny, then yeah, it's fine. But I'm trying to do it even better now, and where it's more me and it's less them, and you might see them in the background here and there and whatnot. But with the vlogs, I wanted to kind of scale back because also I don't want my kids to automatically just think of me with having my phone first thing in the morning, and especially in their face. Like my kids are getting older. I just am starting to get weird about it where I'm like, like I said, going back to even the beginning of this podcast is I want to know that in a few years, my kids are going to be proud of the work that I've done here, and not be mad at me for the work that I've done here and embarrassed or anything like that. So I'm really trying hard to like kind of figure out that thing. And I don't want them to have memories of their mom just always holding their phone and, filming their morning and eating their waffle. Like I just want them to be able to have be kids and not do that stuff. So I've kind of dwindled back on the vlog stuff, for that reason. And yeah, every now and again I'll do it, but yeah. I think that's on that one. And then there was one more question. Let's go. Okay. All right. So these ones, okay. And then the final question, and I had 3 of them, so I'm going to just pair it all together. So on the day that these questions were asked, Kev, I had showed, was giving me a kiss before he left to go to church. I want to dive into a further podcast. We're already at 30 minutes, so I'm going to kind of answer this on a very surface level, but in the future, I will have Kev and I sit down so we can actually talk about this. In terms of religion, my husband attends Catholic Mass pretty much every single Sunday. I do not. I was born and raised Catholic. I received all my sacraments, and I do not practice. I really grew up in a household where it just wasn't the norm. Like we went to church on the holidays and things like that. And I know my parents put us into CCD and got our sacraments, and we did all the the things on paper that you should do, but we were never like a devout family. We weren't someone that incorporated God into our daily talks, our dinners. Like we didn't say grace. We didn't do any of those things. It is what it is. And I'm okay with that. Like I actually am glad that that's how it was for me. It has nothing to do with how I am now. I think as a bigger question, I struggle with the Catholic faith. I don't really find any value out of it. I don't really align myself with a lot of it. And personally, it's not even so much the Catholic religion. So again, if you're Catholic, it's not, I'm not shitting on you guys. It's really all of it. I've just personally in my life, I've witnessed a lot of terrible shit happen I have a lot of family members that have died. I've had friends that died. And just seeing that happen, there has been some slight anger in me especially because all you grow up hearing is like, they're in a better place. It's all part of a plan. I personally don't believe in that. I don't. I do think that there is a nice place waiting for us. I don't think it's better. Maybe, define better, but I think better would be those people here with us. So that's my rationale on that one. Again, there's anger in this answer. And then, in terms of like, there's a plan, I don't believe in plans. I don't. And there is one priest that I've met in my lifetime who actually delivered at a funeral that I was at for, again, a really good friend. He delivered the most beautiful homily, or a sermon, whatever they're called, but he talked about it. And he basically said like, he's having a conversation with God, and God was like, I didn't expect this to happen either. And it was so life-changing for me to hear this come out of him, because I was like, that's how I feel. Like, I don't feel like this is a planned thing. Like I think shit just happens and God's there. And I think sometimes with the Catholic religion, a lot of people go because it feels very OCD and comforting, because Catholicism a lot preys on your worries and your fears. And they kind of tell you like, if you do A, B, and C, then you'll be okay. And I don't like that. I have a problem with saying blessings because I don't like to think that people are picked and chosen. Like I don't like to think of someone up there saying, okay, you get a baby, you get a car, you get a house, like Oprah. I don't like to think of that up there. So I'm very confused, but I believe in something, and I don't know how I want to portray that. I don't know how I want to worship that. I don't know how I want to do any of that, but all I do know is that I live it daily. What I know is I live daily. I'm trying to be kind to others, and I'm trying to be helpful with others and patient. And I'm trying to put the energy that I believe exists out into the world, if that makes sense. And whatever that is, God, you can call it God, energy, whatever. I think it's really good. And I think if we want to see more of that in our lives, then we need to put that out ourselves. And that's just that's what I believe. And I don't know what you would classify any of that, but yeah. It's a very hard, complicated answer. And we're trying to figure it out because, I'm not opposed to Kev bringing the kids to church at all. I just have my worries and doubts because, again, I don't want my kids to go thinking that they need to go so they don't go to hell. And I don't want my kids to think just because they went to church that now suddenly they're a good person. I want my kids to be out in the world doing things. And I said to Kev, I'd rather take the hour that we would spend sitting in mass and have them volunteer and actually help someone than just be told about how you should be. That's where I kind of run into a problem. And things like that. So it's hard. It's complicated. I don't really know what I'm going to do in terms of with the kids' sacraments. Part of me is not really keen on it. I'm starting to have family members tell me that they think we should set all that stuff up. And I'm kind of like, But I also want them to know it. So I'm trying to figure out how to show them that. And I think it's going to be from out in the world experience, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it all out. It's very confusing, but that's the short answer, even though that felt very long. One day, Kevin and I will get into it. It's just confusing, but I believe in something and I don't know what that is. But anytime I even try to convince myself otherwise, it's like I have a nudge on my shoulder that basically is like, shut up. I'm here. It is. It's a wild, wild relationship, but I also believe that God is my friend and I can tell God exactly how I feel about him at any given moment and he allows it. He's like the best friend that you want riding shotgun in your car. That's how it feels. And again, it could be God, it could be energy. I don't really know, but I feel something and it's hard to navigate. And I'd rather just leave like humans out of it. I'd rather just feel it. So that's how I am. But anyway, that's it. Those are all my Q&As right now. Again, in the future, I'll deep dive into a few of these things more. But until then, I'm going to leave this. We're at 36 minutes. I think that's long enough for you guys just listening to me solo. And come follow along on Instagram and wish me luck. Oh my God, wish me luck on flying on Thursday. Ugh. I literally have such a pit in my stomach about it, but it's fine. We'll be okay. I have medication. I'll get a mimosa when I get on there. I'm trying to remind myself that it will actually be nice because I can watch a movie uninterrupted. That will be nice. That'll be a nice little break for 6 hours. I don't mind that. That's fine. Doesn't make it any easier though. Blah. That's fine. Okay. Well, come wish me luck. And when we get there safely in Los Angeles and then safely home, I'll be happy. And then we'll have to leave again for London and whatnot. Once Thanksgiving, I just have to get to Thanksgiving and I'll be happy because then I'll be back in my home, everyone together, and we'll be okay. That's all I'm looking forward to. But oh God, the lead up until then is just a dagger to the chest right now. Ugh. Okay. Well, peace out, guys. I love you. Thank you for being here and keep rocking on. Another episode down. Thank you all so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, I would be so appreciative if you would leave a rating and review. I cannot begin to tell you how much those mean to me, but also how much they help me get in front of more eyes and more ears. As always, be sure to check back every Tuesday and Friday for a new episode, whether it's an episode with me and my husband, me and Katie, or just another incredible, amazing guest. Stay tuned for more honest, real, raw chit-chat. And hey, do me a favor before you go. Remind yourself how amazing you are, how enough you are, how special you are. And boy, oh boy, I sure am glad to have you here. Thanks, friend.